With the big ones, they can't line them all up so that you can go to every one. Some have to be going on at the same time. You got to pick, so it gets tough.
I guess with small cons, they aren't quite as organized as like bigger ones, but there are certain perks to smaller ones as well. Curious.
The only gripe I really had here was how small the dealer's room was. But at the same time, it's a Milo Pony Con, so really Milo Pony's really the only thing you can have in it.
Yeah.
So that was my only gripe. But I mean, I walked around it 4 times and spent just over $200, so I'm not going to complain.
Yeah, I know. Spend less if it's a smaller dealer's room. I just came from town Vancouver where we live. There's a fan expo there, which is sci-fi, anime, fantasy stuff, gaming, like big convention. So I'm on. I'm in the green room with like Sean Astin, Samwise Gamgee. That's Sean from Lord of the Rings. So I'm sitting by him. Guy plays Spike from Buffy. Where all those guys are guys that are in our green room with us that we're chatting with before we're going out to do autographs. But the room where you can buy all the stuff was probably, the main room here, the main auditorium room. It was probably 5 times that size of that room. 5 times as big as that main auditorium room, just where you buy stuff. Massive. Absolutely massive. You got a question?
Yeah. I was just curious, like, for you in your particular situation, I couldn't really ask Andrew, Francis, or other folks. I'm like, what does it feel like to juggle, like a typical family life, trying to raise your children and like have a good family, while having this kind of job that exposes you to this kind of culture experience?
The culture's awesome. I mean, those experiences are great, and like I said, the people we work with are awesome. But actually, compared to film and TV, it's one thing I liked about voiceover with the family is that it pays as well as film and TV. In some cases, better because I'm doing so much of it. But the schedule for voiceover is really consistent. Like when I'm working on shows, if I have 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 shows a week, generally recording sessions no more than 4 hours. So it's like 9 to 1, and then the next session is usually 2 to 6. And they don't. Sometimes we're done a 9 to 1 session. We might record fast and be done in 2 hours, or 2 to 6 session might be done quicker. But I'm usually 5 days a week I work, and I know my hours. Like I generally never start before 9. Sometimes there's the odd radio spot I record, and I generally never go past 6. So it's really consistent. It's like having a regular job. But film, when I was doing film and TV, when you're on set, you don't get your call time for when you have to be on set until sometimes the night before at like midnight, because they can't give you your call time until they finish shooting, because they have to have a certain amount of time before they're allowed to start again. So if they go over schedule, which happens all the time in film, they don't finish till really late. We get a call time. I'll find out at midnight the night before. My call time's 6 a.m. the next day, and then I don't know when I'm done, because sometimes filming is not 4 hours or 6 or 8. It can be 16 hours because of issues, rain. It's rain delay, lightings, all kinds of stuff. So the scheduling is bizarre, and I'd be like, my wife said, well, when do you head to work? I don't really know yet. When are you going to be home? I have no idea. That's really hard to schedule around. What I do now is way easy.
So you clearly prefer like voice work over, say, like television.
Schedule-wise for a family, yeah. Film is really fun and it has its perks and stuff. But I'm, based on the 3 kids and all the stuff they do, I still want to participate in.
Yeah, you want to be their dad.
Yeah, I want to be around. So they're like, who are you? And when they have their play and their concerts at night and their final things that they do, I'm in almost every single one of them.
Yeah.
When you do film, you miss that stuff all the time.
Yeah, that must be really nice. Well, I mean, because with my folks, they're doctors, so it's like it was interesting for me to grow up with that, just because they're so busy.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
Yeah, all the time. And their schedules can be random too, because you get calls to do stuff all the time. You're like, what?
Yeah, like they'll be called in, like they'll be on call, so like they don't know if they're doing anything that day. So it's like, oh, you want to do something?
like my oldest son's graduation's coming up on the 21st of June. So high school, yeah. So I scheduled. I'm not available to record on that day in the afternoon. I told everyone for any shows. They're like, no problem. Took it off my schedule. If I was on a TV series, you can't just say, no, I'm not coming to set that day. No, we have this $100 million show, and we have everyone else is coming. We're not canceling the day because your son's graduating. You missed their grad. You know, that's how it goes. They don't shut down production unless you're a massive movie star. They'll be like, fine, we'll move production, and even that would be hard to do. But they don't move shit around if you're not available. You have to be ill or injured before they don't shoot.
Yeah, but it's physical.
Yeah.
So you guys clearly have so much you love about this work, but what I want to know for you is what you consider a challenge. Because with Andrew, what he brought up was a good point. Like working with you guys with the competition and just like the uncertainty of getting a role. And I'm curious, as like from your point as a veteran of the field with you.
Yeah, well, that's still always the thing that you have to, in this type of an industry, you've got to have a pretty thick skin because, like your parents who are doctors, they don't have to do 200, 300 job interviews a year.
Yeah.
Or if you're going to be a teacher, when you get a job, you probably hope you have it for a while, and you feel, I got my job. Unless I do really poorly and they fire me or something, and I have to interview for another one. That's all we do every week. Job interview, job interview. I mean, they're called auditions, but that's what it is. Am I good enough? Is that good enough? Is that good enough? I'll try. That's all we do, non-stop. And when you got to do that constantly for 10 years, and younger people are showing up, like the Andrew Francises, that are competing for your job. There's always new people, and they're better. And just because I'm a veteran, they don't go, nah, we're going to give it to Brian because he's a veteran, even though that Andrew Francis read the role better. No, they give it to whoever they thought had the best voice. It's not something where they go, no, we're going to give it to Brian. Like you might have 10 years as a teacher. No, she's going to get this job because she has 20 years experience, even though that new girl was really good in her interview. No, that's not how it works for me. I could have 20 years, but if a new guy does an audition that they think works better for that role, and he's never done one episode of anything ever, he gets the part. I don't. So that is what you have to be able to
be able to endure.
Yeah.
Well, and I can imagine just with your own position, like with your family, just like having to deal with that uncertainty must be harrowing.
When I had a young family, it was really stressful because when the kids were younger, Aiden was born in '95, so that was our first child, and I only just started doing some animation then, so I was still trying to juggle the odd film gig, trying to get the odd TV show. Yeah, and I was on Dragon Ball Z. I'd started then, but that's only twice a week, once in a while. I got G.I. Joe Extreme, which is a TV series, animated series, but that's like once a month we do one of those. So it's not a lot of work, and I got one kid. And you have your second one, and then you have your third one, then you really get stressed, and then they're going to school, and they need clothes, and you're feeding 5 people. So it gets stressful, but for the past 10 years it hasn't been that stressful because I've been very busy.
Yeah.
But the first 8, 9, it's pretty harrowing if you have a month that's quiet. And you can have a month that's like, I didn't book any of those. Nothing. I book a lot of stuff now, so I'm not that nervous about it. So I go out for things. I still get really upset when I lose a part that I thought I could have had.
But it's not so big.
But I'm not that worried because I'm on a lot of things.
Well, a busy voice actor is a happy one.
Yeah, any working actor, when you're working at all, you're pretty excited. When you're on one show or if you're on 15 shows, you're pretty excited just to be working. But with a family, one isn't going to cut it when you're just the odd show coming up. I would have very unhappy children and wife if that was a scenario. But now it's been great because I've established myself.
So you've done a lot of animation stuff, obviously, because that's why you're here. But I'm curious, is there any particular form of voice acting that you dabbled with before that you kind of enjoyed? Because I know there's there's industrial work or like narration for books and stuff. But did you ever find yourself this is kind of nice, I might be able to slip into this?
Well, as a performer, I try and fill the gaps between what I'm doing in animated shows with anything that my voice suits or that someone wants me to perform in. So I'm the voice of a number of different radio spots in Canada for different companies. There's an oil company that I'm a voice for. There's a cable telecom company I'm the voice for. I'm the voice for YVR, which is the airport in Vancouver. Vancouver, and then you do all these different. You do radio, TV spots as well, wherever you can fit them in, because they pay really well. If you see, you become the voice of a car company like Mazda or some of those guys, or Toyota, and you get a campaign for a couple of years, huge money.
Yeah.
So performers always want to land that kind of stuff because it's
industrial is pretty lucrative from what I understand.
And industrial as well. People that do books, but whatever you can fit in. There's obviously gaming industry. There's so many venues to fill your time. But right now, my time is usually you only have so many hours in a day, and so much in the tank that you can use it for. Like the day before I left, I had 5 gigs on the Thursday I left, and I started in the morning with I did a Littlest Pet Shop short. That was a direct-to-web short thing for Littlest Pet Shop. One of those short things that goes online. And I went straight from that to another webisode, which is a longer version of something for a Max Steel, which is a show that we're doing. I went straight from that to a radio campaign for the airport that I do work at. And then I did for an oil company, one spot for them, and a dubbing thing for a German dubbed TV series.
It's funny you mentioned
5 different things, completely different stuff.
And it's funny you mentioned oil company, because I don't know if you overheard when I was telling Andrew about it, because when I had a co-op, because I'm a chemical engineer by major.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, because also Andrea Lidman was an engineer too.
Yeah,
which I think that's neat. It's just nice when you can, branch out like that.
Yeah.
But the funniest thing was, with my co-op, I ended up, just doing the work, but they ended up saying, hey, look, we need you to narrate these PowerPoints for a safety budget.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, I know, I couldn't believe it, because it just, because I had my voice acting project at the same time, and they just sort of happened to have this. And it was a lot of fun, because the coaches I have for voice acting said I did the narration for our program.
Good.
Yeah, and it's just, I don't know, that kind of experience.
What programming, is there with the local college, or where are you doing some of the
voice acting?
Yeah.
Well, UC...
Or the project that you were doing.
Yeah. Well, with UC, the University of Cincinnati, they have an honors program. And what they do is, you can have experiences where pretty much it's very open-ended, and you can do whatever you want with it. And I decided, what the hell, let me do something with voice acting. I care about that, and it's a nice little venue and a way to, build up some skills. And the one guy they have there, the professor, Rocco Del Vera, he's really well known. And he gave me some of his students to work with, and it's just been so great, because I've been, mastering industrial.
Awesome.
So yeah, that's pretty much why I'm here. Basically, just talking to you guys and performing as much as I can.
Yeah.
I've sort of given up on the whole recorded interview, but it's still really great to talk with you guys and
just take as much, every bit and piece that you can from a conversation and use it, because you're doing a final project with it, are you? Or
it's not. Well, it's as much as I want to do with it. I mean, they kind of want something by the end of this year, but at the same time, nothing can stop me from staying with my coaches, because they're super great guys. Yeah. So it's just whatever I can get out of it.
Well, there's probably in every town, sometimes there's not a lot of animated work, but with online and web work that's available, and then obviously in television and radio for sure.
Oh, gosh.
Every city has tons of radio work. They have to do all their ad campaigns and their ad spots are done. So many are done locally, right? So there's always tons to do there, and that can be fairly lucrative. I know guys that just work exclusively in radio.
No, it's a lot of fun, because UC has its own radio program, and I'll do that every week too.
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm just doing what I can.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, one more question,
sure,
and then I can ask you the stupid fan stuff. What do you think is kind of the most surprising thing you've had with the industry? Because you've been around it for quite a while, but I'm sure you found your fair share.
Surprising thing?
Yeah, just you had expectations going into this. You started out as just a regular actor, but then you realized that you could make a good amount of money off of voice work, and so you went into it with certain expectations as far as the work you'd be getting. But what do you feel was took you by surprise? I mean, besides the Brony family, of course.
That's a surprise.
Yeah.
That initially. Not anymore, but it was. I was like, what? When I first started out, I'm like, get out. Grown dudes like this show? Come on, I gotta watch it. Hey, I like this show.
I guess I'm a grown dude that likes the show.
Yeah. Does that make me a brony? But I think I'd probably say I'm most surprised that probably that I'm still working as much as I am. Because, not that I have doubt in my talent or anything like that, but I always thought, well, there's always going to be new people. Like I was a new guy that got in and started getting tons of roles. I always thought that would just be a cycle that would continue to happen. New people would come in, and that means I would move out and end up not getting as many roles, and it would just kind of happen because it'd be tougher to get roles. But it's not actually the case. It's actually a really small group. You know, probably within like 50 people in Vancouver that do 95% of the shows. Even a new show comes out, and they do this massive cattle call, and they see like 400 new people over 2 or 3 days, and I'm like, and then I book a role on it. I'm like, yes, I saw certain people. I managed to book a role anyhow, and then I show up at the first day of record, and I'm like, holy crap! Look at the 9 people that are on the show. They're all the guys that I work with all the time. Still got all the roles when like saw like they were, because they throw this out. We want to hear new voices. But the same people book them.
But it's just what they need.
And I think it's like we liked that one the best, and Tabitha did do the best job, and Francis actually was the best, and Richard he nailed it. You know, they get it. And even if you look in LA and you think of how many performers there are in LA, and look at the core voice guys that are on a lot of animated shows, LA probably has 10 times the actors in Los Angeles that there is in Vancouver. And even though they have 10 times, and let's say there's 50 core voice actors in Vancouver, I don't think there's 500 core ones in LA. I bet you there's 100 that are really core guys that do everything. It's just look. There's like there he is again. You know, they're all over everything.
Hey man, good to see you again.
Yeah. I'm serious. It's like that.
Well, it's just funny because as a business, I feel like voice acting is a little overlooked because we're so used to like movies and stuff, and you never see like with big budget animated movies. Like you don't see folks like you or Andrew showing up. It's like people they know, like John C. Reilly or Sarah Silverman. It's like people's names that people are going to recognize. And it's just funny how voice acting. That probably does.
It angers us a little bit when we don't get a crack at that kind of stuff. But I understand it. I understand the movie industry, and I mean with you making a film. With you making a film, if you can make a Kung Fu Panda and have like 9 names on the front of your big poster that's going around the world, and it says, oh wow, it's got Jackie Chan is in it, and you're like, oh my god, he just says like 9 words in the movie, and you're like Jackie Chan and this name and Jack Black is the main role, but there were some people that you're like, anybody could have done that. You know, Tara Strong could have nailed something better than Angelina Jolie. Like, did they need her to play that? There's 100 actors that could have been one 100th of the cost, but the producers go, no, I want Angelina Jolie's name. It's going to sell them to see it.
It's just silly too because actors, like Angelina Jolie, physical actors, they go into a role like that and they treat it like a regular actor. They're not like with voice actors. You'll see in the studio. Well, you know better than me. Like they're moving as they're like doing their role. No, you don't do that. Really?
This guy's all over the place. You don't want your microphone. Actually, you've got it all going forward now. But if it was going out like this, he'd be elbowing me or Sam Vincent in the head. He's like all over the place. But it's funny. You have to stay a certain distance from the microphone. You can't be doing this. So there's a lot of this that goes on. Head's not moving. His body is all over the place, right? His body's flying around, and whereas Ian Corlett can do the same amount with his hands right here. He's got his hand in his pocket, and you fall downstairs, and he's like, and he doesn't even move. They sit down. He doesn't move.
And I think that's why actually I once tried to work on my movie. Sometimes. I thought it was the story like Terry made me do it again with my hands in my pocket.
Yeah.
The same way for whatever. And it was exactly the same. It's just I just feel that you're
and I'm sure maybe when Ian started it was probably similar. But at a point it's like, you know what, I can get that. Yeah.
Him and his hands in his pocket is like
I
couldn't see him moving for anything.
Yeah, and he could still get out the same performance, right? Everyone's different. I move around a fair bit too.
Now, for both of you. Like, how did you pick this up? Because with me, with voice acting, the fact was, I love to create stories and to write jokes, like create universes like that. But I'm like, acting is so foreign to me because it's just like assuming a role that somebody else is creating.
I just wanted food. I wanted to be able to feed myself. And when you get hungry enough, you want to work. And I'm like, what other avenue? What's my skill? I can act. I can do other things. But when you're doing Joe jobs that you hate to pay the bills, I'm like, I want to do what I love to pay the bills. And that sounds like fun. Then you do one episode of something, and you're like, I want to do more. And you're hooked, right? When you do one. So it wasn't like I've said before. I was in no, even in theater school, I was in no mind frame that I was like, I am going to star as an animated performer. I want to be on Broadway, like anybody who's in theater school. You want to be at the highest level of that training, and the highest level for a stage performer is the West End, London, or Broadway. You can't do anything further. It's not like I wish to work on, tour on,
I want to work on the Pac-Man animated series.
Yes, it's like yes, that's not all you think about.
Yeah.
So
you think about the potential.
But yeah, now as an animated performer, you want to work on the biggest shows that go out there. But with many of them, you don't know how it's going to be big. It's going to be when it starts. Well, when you do what we do, we're probably very close to the top of where you can be. It only really depends on what the show does. Like, I mean, if we had about a show that becomes the next SpongeBob, then you're at the top, or becomes the next Simpsons, but you never know it. Or like for Andrea and Ashley, My Little Pony is the biggest property Hasbro has, and one of the biggest animated shows on TV. They're at the top. Now they're not getting paid like they're Angelina Jolie. She made more money probably doing one of those than those guys make all year doing 26. But it's so recognition-wise, you're at the top for a period.
Unnerving though, like don't you always wish or want there to be more? You know what I mean? Like you don't want to ever be at the top. You always want to look at the next one.
Yeah, no, well, I wouldn't necessarily say it's under. I'm not at a point where, because I feel like I've done as much, as I can do vocally, and maybe there's some more, but I'd like to have, there's certain things like to be the voice of, like some big thing would be great, or to be, like there's certain things that I'd love to have been recognized to be that, or mine more now almost would be to, as far as working in LA, would be to work with certain people. It becomes more just the experience of, I'd love to be on a cast with all those guys that I think are awesome. That's where I, even if my character wasn't number one.
For me too, just like, experience that with people that really care about what they're doing. Like, they're interested as much as you are, like their craft, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, absolutely. And with athletes, I'm sure they want an opportunity to work at the highest level, which I think we do, but then they want an opportunity to work with some of their heroes or their people that they think are working at the highest level as well. Right, that opportunity.
I don't bring that up around here.
I just thought that was quite complicated.
I mean, it would be if this was not a brother. That's the wrong thing.
Here's my daughter.
You go.